Hey, it's Dr. Dale with 5 signs that you may be experiencing complicated grief after the death of a loved one. Have you ever been concerned for a friend or loved one who you noticed they had a big change in their behavior, in their thoughts, their job is in jeopardy because they haven't been going, and just they're so focused on that deceased loved one. They may be experiencing complicated grief, and by no means are we rushing grief. There's a difference between complicated grief and regular grief. And that leads me to number one, is that they're having ruminating thoughts about that deceased loved one, meaning all their thoughts are consumed with thinking about that person who just died, who passed away. And that leads me to number two, is that they may be suffering from depression and suicidal thoughts, meaning that they may be thinking about suicide or mention suicide and so depressed that they're not getting out of the bed. And that leads me to number three, is that they're struggling with the acceptance that this person is gone. And that leads me to number four, is that their quality of life is being impacted, meaning because they're not going to work, they're in jeopardy of losing their job, like I said before, or, the mortgages, they may be getting ready to lose their house. They're not socializing, they're losing friends, the house is in shambles, and all of that type of stuff impacts the quality of life. And that leads me to number five, is just the intense longing of that loved one, wanting to see that person again, wishing that person could come back to life. And that's what complicated grief is. Regular grief is just the 5 stages of grief that I discussed in the previous video. Check that video out. And usually within 6 months, you are able to cope with the loss, but the grief is still there. The grief never goes away, but it's not impacting your functioning, and that's the difference. So if you know someone that's struggling with these symptoms, please have them seek a therapist to help them maneuver through this complicated grief. Praying for everybody who's lost anybody.